Good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the October instructional tips. The structure and format is going to be changing slightly based upon some feedback that I've received from several teachers. The feedback is that there's a lot of resources being sent out and not really a lot of time for a centralized focus, time to implement in the classroom, and honest feedback and reflection from individual teachers. So in contrast to sending out weekly tips, if you are in need of resources, please do not hesitate to contact me. I will search and dig and find whatever you need to do. That is my way of supporting you this year in any manner that I can. But for a centralized idea and concept, we're going to be only focusing on 2 instructional strategies and 1 particular technology tip. So let's begin. The first one that I'll be sharing with you in this document is on student stations. Student stations look and appear very differently depending on the content and the type of lesson, which is why they're so beneficial. It allows for a very diverse and creative amount of instructional opportunities, such as review or investigation. It has a higher mobility for students to be engaged. It can cover a really large pool of topics. It has more opportunities for students to review and see the content in a diverse way, and even possibly different pedagogical strategies such as hands-on or reading or writing, anything to that effect. So please take a look at the different types of stations, and if you would like for me to model how I've done that or how I've seen other teachers do that, I'd be happy to talk with you more about that, or co-teach or model teach how to set that up. Please just contact me and I'd be happy to organize that for you. The next instructional strategy is a vocabulary. There are 2 different types of vocab topics here. On the left side we have the I have, who has game. You can use as many or as little vocab words as you would like. I typically do this. I hand each kid a card, or maybe even 2. I put a star on the first one to begin with. So I would say on the top left, who has the states that border Virginia? And the student with the card with the correct answer would say, I have Maryland, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Who has the body of water that separates the mainland and the Eastern Shore Peninsula? And this would go on until you get to the end of the words that would say the answer would be back to the first person, I have peninsula. I've done this before where you time it and you get them down to a certain number of time, say 2 minutes. They have to complete it in 2 minutes and they get a minute free. You can use this a variety of ways. You can make this as hard or as complex, and it really is adaptable in any content area. The second game is a little bit more confusing. It's called a puzzle box. And as you can see, there are, if you follow my cursor, this is 1 card. So it starts out the top with collagen, and it has 4 sides. So it has collagen, plastids, a machine that spins test tubes at fast speeds, and mitochondria. So that is 1 card. And the objective of this vocab game is to match up 1 card with the other. And so mitochondria has to match up with this definition. But in order for these 2 to stay here, these 2 words, the ultracentrifuge and the machine that spins at test tubes at very fast speeds, also has to match up. Now if I wanted to make this harder for an AIG class, I would often put more of the same word on there. For example, I might put 3 different locations where plastid, so they would really have to think, how do these line up? I typically would give them the top 2 left cards, so I would give them this one and this one on my PowerPoint, or I'd say find these 2 cards. You cut them out just like a deck of cards, and it's really challenging for most students, but it's an effective way for them to talk about definitions and make connections. So it doesn't just have to be a definition, it could be an example or anything that you would like. Moving on to the last one, I'd like to take you to GameCam, the app. So we're going to watch this minute 56 video that they have on what it is. It's an application that you can download freely on your iPad, computer, and so forth. If you're at the high school, see Miss Holland. She's been using this, or anyone else in the math department. They've been utilizing this in their class. And at the middle school, if you'd like to see me, please go ahead and do so. I'd be happy.
GradeCam allows educators to grade multiple choice assignments using a web or document camera and transfer grades directly into any gradebook. This is Miss Johnson. She loves teaching. Teaching hadn't always been easy though. Outside pressures and expectations made the job challenging and left very little time for what she loved, teaching. And while she wanted nothing more than to make sure her students were as successful as possible, it was difficult to monitor each student's progress. The countless hours she spent each week grading papers and entering scores into her gradebook didn't help. But then, everything changed. Miss Johnson found GradeCam. Since she already had a document camera, she was all set to start using GradeCam to grade student assignments. Using her camera, GradeCam reads bubbled answers and then grades the assignment. She could even use the webcam in her laptop. Now her students bring their quizzes up to the camera and instantly know their grades. And Miss Johnson immediately knows how everyone did, with instant item analysis right there in the classroom where it's most useful. And the students' scores go directly into her gradebook, leaving Miss Johnson with less paperwork and less tedious data entry. Since GradeCam never charges for forms and they're reproducible, Miss Johnson quizzes her students as frequently as she likes. Today, Miss Johnson not only has less paperwork, she always knows where each of her students are at in the learning process. And she focuses her time and energy on what she loves, teaching. You could sort of say she's a super teacher now.
The last little bit that I'd like to let you know about this GradeCam is that it's also usable on the iPad. The document cameras that you have in your room might not as clearly scan it or rapidly as your iPad, so the suggestion from the math department is to use the iPad as opposed to the document camera. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I look forward to seeing your classrooms, and have a great day.